Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you all are having a great week and great weekend. And this weekend is Easter, which is always super fun and exciting. I personally got an extra day off of work, which was great. So this week I really wanted to celebrate the concept of Easter, and I'm semi-obsessed with historical royal traditions, and one of them is the tradition of a Faberge Easter egg. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with the Faberge Easter egg, it was something done in Imperial Russia back before the revolution, given to the czars by the House of Faberge. And they are known as the Faberge Imperial Easter Eggs. And if you aren't familiar with them, you should definitely look them up because they are beautiful. Like, they're not just eggs most of the time. I believe one's in the shape of the Kremlin, one is a timepiece, some open up and dance, and they're just intricately beautiful, luxurious, excessive works of pure art that are just to die for amazing. And it's something that I'm not sure anybody will ever do again, because I guess there really isn't a need for it, but they're just absolutely insanely beautiful. So I kind of started there with that kind of a concept and wanted to kind of transform it from, you know, completely royal to just a celebration of spring and Easter. So instead of using like gold and jewel tones, I brought it back into more of like an Easter egg palette of, you can't see it now, but you know, blues and pinks and like blue-greens, just very light and very springy. And I started off with working out some of the detail of the actual egg, where I did this like crisscross pattern, and I chose the motif of a bumblebee and a butterfly. And I chose the bumblebee because they're often shown a lot in like royal motifs / jewelry, and I think it just has like a lot to do with this idea of youthfulness, and honey used to be worth, you know, more than gold at one point in our history, and you know, it was just this fragile commodity that you know, we're so used to in our everyday lives anymore. So that was one thing, and then another was I love the youthfulness and the fragility of the butterfly. You know, they start off as caterpillars and they transform into something incredibly beautiful, but even that thing that's incredibly beautiful is just so fragile, and most don't even last a very long time. Some a few days, some a few weeks, and then some transverse the globe like the monarch. So it's just kind of, you know, this beautiful fragility and strength that I really, really love. And I do think that those themes really speak to the spring season as well as to the Easter weekend of just newness and growth. And you know, that's one of the main reasons why I chose those two motifs to put on the egg itself. And I chose a blue for the egg because it's one of my favorite colors, and this kind of like springy robin's egg blue just screams spring to me, and I really, really love the way that that looks and works with the whole color palette that I chose, that you'll see develop as we continue to move forward. and I opted to only show a little bit of the rendering or painting in of the actual egg, because if I didn't, this video would have been like 2 hours long. So you'll see at times where you know, bits of color will just kind of like pop up because I didn't want the video to be too long. And if it was just like blocking out color, I decided to go ahead and skip videotaping that process and show you more of the detail work instead, which you'll see later in the video. So again, this yellow on blue, kind of like the yellow is a toned down version of the gold, and the blues kind of respecting this whole Easter theme and concept, and just trying to make sure that everything kind of sings together. So I skipped kind of far ahead because I wanted to show more of the details of the flowers, which kind of started being based off of an anemone, and then I kind of kept stylizing it and sketching it out, and so basically only the center kind of looks like it anymore. And I chose to go with a very light pink because pink kind of represents newness and freshness and innocence in a way, which is, to me, what spring is all about, is this rebirth and newness that is there. So I started by laying out a very light colored, just to kind of get the white out, and then went in and layered in a bit darker and a bit darker, and then I used a white, like pure white, to add in some of the veining, because I didn't want the veining to, I wanted it to be there, but I didn't want it to attract too much attention, just to allow it to kind of breathe and feel fresh and easy. And then I went back in with a light gray color to do the center, because anemones are traditionally black, but I thought that would be too garish and too harsh against the lighter pinks of the background. And I did skip over kind of painting the whole background because that would have just taken up too long in the video, but I did choose like a turquoisey blue color to really bring kind of like that spring vibe to the whole piece. And then I also put a light wash of green over some of the leaves that are in the painting, and then a light wash of blue gouache paint over the smaller flowers, which were kind of inspired by a hydrangea flower. And as you can see here, I'm now adding some more and more details to the actual leaves themselves, to add a little bit more shadow, a little bit more depth and dimension, and to make them really feel like an integral part of the whole piece, and kind of adding those shadows in as well. And then I opted to kind of go for a bit of a darker color for the veining, mainly because I wanted it to pop a little bit, but not too much, so you can see that they're really, really thin and very, very simple, because I didn't feel like the illusion of the leaves were really there, and I just wanted to bring that detail out slightly further than it had already been developed. Excuse me. And I continue this for a bit longer, and I'm always showing painting the bottom half, because this painting took me a week and a half to finish. I'm like, oh yeah, no big deal, I get this done in a couple of days. And then I kept adding to it and adding to it, and sometimes that happens in the artistic process, and you just have to respect it and continue to flow with it. So the last thing I did was really add some details into the flowers, the blue flowers, where I added a little bit of a darker blue into the center parts of it. I didn't want it to feel too harsh. I wanted it to kind of be kind of that medium attention grabber, along with the leaves, so that way the border kind of felt like it had a little bit more weight to it. I then used the same gray that I used on the interior of the pink flowers for the interior of the blue flowers, and that was to kind of, I guess, show which flowers were on top and which flowers were beneath, because as I was painting it, I myself was getting confused. So if I was getting confused, then I'm sure the viewer would have gotten confused as well. So that's why that part, why I decided to do that instead. Anyway. Excuse me. My little puppies are giving me some trouble. And then the very last thing I did was I painted the base. I decided eventually that I wanted to go with the same color that I had used throughout the egg, top part of the egg with the yellow. For the longest time I was like, should I, shouldn't I? Eventually I was like, yeah, it needs to be that. And then I went back with a darker yellow color to add in some of the original detailing that I had sketched out, as you can see I'm doing here now. And I didn't want the detailing to kind of grab too much attention, and that's why I decided to use just a darker version of the yellow that I had already been using, just to kind of you know, add that little detail, make it seem a little bit more royal and regal, but still keeping with that fresh, new Easter vibe. And then, as you can see here in a little bit, is the finished product, which I'm actually really, really happy with, and I love this piece to death. And I hope you enjoyed watching this as much as I enjoyed making it. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel if you would like to see more like this. I feel like this is a good direction for my artwork to go. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram, where I post lots of dog pictures and pictures of my art that I continue working on as well, and a lot of sneak peeks on videos that I'm working on for the future. And if you'd like to purchase some of my art, you can do so on society6.com, all of which I'll link down below. Well, I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you all have a great week, and I look forward to seeing you in the future. Thanks, and have a great week. Bye!